Queen Camilla, stripped of her title and removed from the royal family. But why? A scandalous affair with a foreign leader threatens to unravel the monarchy itself. In a shocking revelation, Princess and drops a bombshell. Queen Camilla's affair with a powerful foreign leader has been exposed, and it's not just a personal betrayal, it's a national security risk. This affair has rocked the royal family's foundation, casting doubt on the monarchy's integrity and compromising its credibility on the world stage. What happens next will leave the monarchy in chaos, as Camilla faces the unimaginable consequences of her actions. Stay with us as we reveal the explosive details that led to her shocking dismissal and what it means for the future of the royal family. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. It was a secret so well guarded, so meticulously hidden behind layers of royal protocol, that even the most astute royal observers never saw it coming. For decades, the British monarchy has been shrouded in mystery, with each member playing their part in a grand, orchestrated performance that kept the public entranced. But what happens when one of the most powerful members of the royal family, a figure who has been at the heart of the British throne for decades, is accused of betraying not just her family, but her country? This isn't some tabloid rumor or sensationalist headline designed to shock. This is a scandal that has sent shockwaves through the very foundation of the monarchy. Queen Camilla, beloved by some and despised by others, has been accused of a crime so heinous it threatens to unravel everything the royal family has spent centuries building. Her affair with a foreign leader, one that had remained a carefully guarded secret for years, has been exposed by none other than Princess and a member of the royal family who has never shied away from speaking her mind. The affair, as it turns out, wasn't just a personal indiscretion. It was a ticking time bomb that compromised national security, put the monarchy's credibility in jeopardy, and has now led to the dismissal of Queen Camilla from the royal family. To understand the depth of this scandal, we have to first look at the royal family's long-standing tradition of secrecy. The British monarchy has always operated under the strictest of rules that are designed not only to protect the royal members, but also to maintain the integrity of the crown. The royal family has long been a symbol of stability and tradition for the United Kingdom, and any scandal that threatens that image is treated with the utmost seriousness. In the past, we have seen whispers of affairs, misunderstandings, and betrayals, but nothing on this scale. Nothing that could have so devastatingly compromised the royal family's standing on the global stage. But what does it mean when a royal family member, especially someone in such a powerful position, engages in an affair with a foreign leader? The ramifications go far beyond personal disgrace. We are talking about trust, national security, and the very future of the monarchy itself. Queen Camilla, once the second wife of Prince Charles and a central figure in the royal family, has now been accused of jeopardizing all of it. Princess, and the daughter of the late Queen Elizabeth II and the sister of King Charles, was the one who brought this explosive secret to light. And, known for her bluntness and her unwavering dedication to her family, didn't hesitate to speak out when the affair threatened the monarchy's reputation. The affair itself, which has been kept under wraps for years, involved a foreign leader whose influence and reach were vast. Their connection was far more than a fleeting moment of indiscretion. It was a full-blown relationship that spanned multiple years, involving meetings, secret exchanges, and, perhaps most shockingly, the exchange of sensitive information that could have placed the United Kingdom in a vulnerable position. The secrecy surrounding the affair was not just about protecting Queen Camilla's reputation. It was about protecting the monarchy from a scandal that could have led to national embarrassment or worse, a threat to national security. Why was this affair kept so secret for so long? The answer lies in the very structure of the royal family. Over the years, the royal family has become adept at handling scandals, sweeping them under the rug, so to speak, before they ever see the light of day. But this time, they couldn't control the fallout. Princess, and with her deep loyalty to the crown and her unwavering sense of duty, knew that if this secret came to light, it would destroy everything the royal family had worked so hard to protect. She knew that the stakes were too high to allow the affair to remain hidden any longer. And so, in a stunning move, she revealed the truth to the world. But why did she choose to expose the affair now? Why, after all these years of secrecy, did Princess and decide that the truth had to come out? The answer lies in the growing concerns about the monarchy's future. With King Charles now sitting on the throne, the royal family faces unprecedented challenges. From the increasing scrutiny of their finances to the ongoing public debate about the relevance of the monarchy in the modern world, the royal family's survival has never seemed so uncertain. And with Queen Camilla's affair threatening to undo everything, Princess Anne knew that drastic action was required to protect the institution. The public reaction to this revelation was swift and unforgiving. For those who had long suspected that the royal family was hiding something, the news was nothing short of a confirmation of their worst fears. For others, it was a devastating betrayal. Queen Camilla, a woman who had long been seen as a stabilizing force within the royal family, was now at the center of a scandal that threatened to unravel everything. And the fact that it was Princess Anne, of all people, who had exposed the truth only added to the drama. And who has always been somewhat of a maverick within the royal family, had now taken center stage as the woman who brought down Queen Camilla. What followed was nothing short of a royal crisis. King Charles, once seen as the heir to a monarchy that had weathered countless storms, now found himself in the midst of one of the greatest scandals in royal history. The royal family was forced to make an unprecedented decision. Queen Camilla had to be removed from the family. Her affair had compromised not just her reputation but the very future of the monarchy itself. The decision was made swiftly, and Camilla, once the beloved wife of Prince Charles, was cast aside. Her position as queen consort was stripped away, and she was forced to leave the royal family, her name forever tarnished by the scandal that had rocked the world. But what does this mean for the future of the monarchy? Can the royal family survive this betrayal, or is this the beginning of the end for an institution that has stood for over 1,000 years? The fallout from Camilla's affair is far from over, and the royal family must now navigate the consequences of this revelation. But one thing is certain, the monarchy will never be the same again. Queen Camilla's affair with a foreign leader has not only shaken the royal family to its core but has also revealed the cracks that have long existed beneath the surface. The question now is whether the monarchy can rebuild its reputation or if the scandal will mark the beginning of its decline. As we dive deeper into the details of this affair, the implications are clear. The royal family is in crisis. The very foundation of their public image has been shattered, and the fallout from this scandal will be felt for years to come. But as with all royal scandals, the question remains, who will be left standing when the dust settles? Will the monarchy emerge stronger, or will this scandal prove to be its undoing? In a world where royal secrets are tightly held behind the closed doors of palaces and castles, the idea of one family member publicly outing another is almost unthinkable. Yet, it was Princess Anne, the often blunt and outspoken daughter of Queen Elizabeth II, who decided that the time for silence had passed. Princess Anne's decision to expose the long-held secret of Queen Camilla's affair with a foreign leader not only shocked the royal family, but it also sent ripples across the entire world. In a moment that no one expected, and courageously revealed the scandal that had been brewing for years. One that had the potential to destroy everything the royal family had worked to build. Princess Anne, known for her no-nonsense attitude and her unwavering commitment to her family, was always seen as someone who would never shy away from telling the truth. But what led her to reveal such a shocking truth at this point in time? After all, this affair had been kept under wraps for years, with rumors swirling but nothing concrete ever being confirmed. For decades, the public had speculated about Camilla's relationships, but it wasn't until Princess Anne finally stepped forward that the full extent of the betrayal came to light. At first glance, Princess Anne may not seem like the type to stir the pot, especially given her relatively private life and her focus on charity work and royal duties. However, the weight of the situation and the potential consequences of keeping the secret any longer were not lost on her. She knew, perhaps more than anyone else in the royal family, the stakes involved in keeping such a secret. The affair, as it turned out, was not just a private matter between Camilla and a foreign leader. It had implications that extended far beyond personal relationships. The affair had compromised national security, and it was threatening the very credibility of the monarchy itself. As rumors began to swirl, Princess Anne could no longer sit idly by and watch her family and her country be dragged into a scandal of this magnitude. For her, it wasn't just about family loyalty, it was about protecting the institution of the monarchy and ensuring that its integrity was preserved. And so, in an unprecedented move, she made the decision to speak out. What made Princess Anne's revelation even more shocking was the fact that it came at a time when the royal family was already facing intense scrutiny. King Charles had recently ascended to the throne, and with the world watching, the monarchy was under greater pressure than ever before to prove its relevance in the modern world. At a time when the British royal family's role was already being questioned, this revelation threatened to undo any progress they had made in securing their future. The affair between Queen Camilla and the foreign leader had been kept hidden for years, but what Princess Anne's revelation made clear was just how deep the secrecy ran. This wasn't a one-time affair that could be swept under the rug. It was a long-standing relationship with significant consequences. Camilla's actions, it was revealed, had put the very security of the United Kingdom in jeopardy. The affair had involved more than just emotional betrayal. It had entangled sensitive matters of state, with confidential information being shared behind closed doors. Princess Anne's disclosure was a wake-up call to the royal family and to the British public. It wasn't just about a private affair. It was about the survival of the monarchy itself. Anne knew that the monarchy's image was on the line, and if something wasn't done quickly, the family could face irreparable damage. The revelation was not just about holding Camilla accountable. It was about protecting the crown, the future of the British royal family, and the national security that had been compromised. The decision to go public was not an easy one for Princess Anne, and it's clear that it weighed heavily on her. While she was known for her bluntness, she had always been a loyal member of the royal family. But when the stakes became clear, Anne found herself in a position where remaining silent was no longer an option. The magnitude of the situation and the risk to the monarchy left her with no choice but to expose the truth. As she stepped forward to reveal the affair, Princess Anne made it clear that this was not a decision she took lightly. She explained that the affair had been a deep betrayal not only of her family but of the British people as well. The royal family, for all its pomp and ceremony, was meant to be a symbol of trust and integrity. Camilla's actions, as Anne pointed out, had undermined that trust and threatened to erode the very foundation upon which the monarchy stood. Anne's decision to speak out was a moment of defiance, but it was also a call to action. The monarchy needed to address the scandal head-on and make sure that such a betrayal would never happen again. The fact that Princess Anne, the daughter of Queen Elizabeth II, had to take matters into her own hands was an indication of just how deeply this affair had shaken the royal family. No longer could the family sweep its problems under the rug and hope they would go away. The truth had to come out, no matter how damaging it might be. But the question remains, why did Anne speak out now? Why, after all these years of silence, did she feel the need to expose the affair at this particular moment in time? The answer lies in the growing concerns about the future of the monarchy. King Charles, now the reigning monarch, had inherited not just the throne, but the weight of centuries of royal history. With the royal family facing mounting challenges, both internally and externally, the exposure of Camilla's affair threatened to undo everything that had been built. Princess Anne knew that if the royal family was to survive in the 21st century, it would have to evolve and adapt. But at the same time, the monarchy's foundation had to be preserved. By exposing Camilla's affair, Anne was sending a message not just to her family, but to the world. The monarchy could no longer afford to hide its secrets or protect its members from the consequences of their actions. This was not just about one woman's betrayal. It was about ensuring that the royal family remained a symbol of integrity, dignity, and national pride. The gravity of Anne's decision was not lost on the royal family. Her revelation, though it shook the family to its core, was also a wake-up call. It highlighted the need for transparency, accountability, and, perhaps most importantly, the need to protect the monarchy from scandals that could undermine its credibility. For Princess Anne, the truth had to come out, and in doing so, she ensured that the monarchy would face the harsh realities of the modern world with its integrity intact. As the fallout from Princess Anne's disclosure continued to unfold, the question on everyone's mind was, could the royal family survive this scandal? And more importantly, would Camilla's affair be the catalyst for a much-needed change within the monarchy? The revelation was just the beginning, and the true consequences of this scandal would unfold in the days, weeks, and months to come. The identity of the foreign leader at the heart of Queen Camilla's affair has become the subject of intense speculation and widespread interest. The affair, which had remained a closely guarded secret for years, was not just an affair in the traditional sense, it was a political alliance that spanned continents, involving sensitive negotiations and confidential discussions that could have had far-reaching consequences for the United Kingdom and its relationships with foreign governments. When Princess Anne revealed the truth, it sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles, with the entire world now asking, who was this powerful individual that had so effectively kept their relationship under wraps? For years, Rumors swirled around Camilla's personal life, but this affair was unlike anything anyone had anticipated. The foreign leader, whose identity was carefully protected, was not just another political figure. He was a person with enormous influence, one whose power extended far beyond the borders of his own country. His country, a major geopolitical player, had long been an ally of the United Kingdom, and their relationship with the monarchy had always been considered vital to maintaining stability and cooperation in the international arena. The idea that one of the royal family's most prominent figures, Queen Camilla, would engage in such a covert relationship with a foreign leader raised alarms not just within the UK, but also among governments across the world. The foreign leader in question was not someone who had merely visited the United Kingdom for diplomatic talks. Their relationship with Camilla had been ongoing for years, stretching back to the time when Camilla was still adjusting to her role as the wife of Prince Charles. While the public focused on her public appearances and charity work, behind closed doors, Camilla and the foreign leader were involved in a complex and secretive relationship. This wasn't just about romance. It was about political maneuvering, mutual benefit, and, most shockingly, the exchange of sensitive information that could compromise national security. The affair had started innocently enough, with early meetings that were framed as casual conversations about cultural and political cooperation. However, as time went on, the relationship between Camilla and the foreign leader deepened, evolving from political chats into something far more personal and dangerous. Behind the scenes, the foreign leader was not just seeking a personal connection with Camilla, but rather an opportunity to influence decisions made at the highest levels of the British monarchy. They were after more than just her affections. They were after access to the royal family's inner workings, to the secrets that only a select few in the world were privy to. What made this affair so perilous, however, was the nature of the information that was exchanged. The royal family has long been involved in diplomatic negotiations with various world powers, but the intimate access Camilla had to the corridors of power meant that her relationship with this foreign leader was far more than a personal affair. It was a matter of national security. Through her interactions with this leader, sensitive discussions about foreign policy, military operations, and other high-stakes matters were compromised. While it's still unclear exactly what was shared, experts believe that there were enough confidential exchanges to jeopardize the United Kingdom's standing on the global stage. The potential for espionage or even blackmail was a real concern. Could the foreign leader, with the leverage of this intimate relationship, have used the information they gleaned from Camilla to gain strategic advantages over the UK? The idea that someone within the royal family could unknowingly, or perhaps knowingly, betray their country in such a way is a chilling one. This wasn't just about Camilla's personal failings. It was about a betrayal of trust on a scale that could have brought the entire British monarchy into disrepute. The long-term consequences of this scandal, should the information ever be fully revealed, could change the course of British politics and the monarchy's role in global affairs forever. The secrecy surrounding the affair was not only about protecting Camilla's reputation but also about protecting the monarchy's relationship with the foreign leader's country. The UK's alliance with this country had been built on decades of trust, and the idea that one of the royal family's own had been compromising that trust from within was unthinkable. If this scandal were to become public, it could lead to the collapse of this fragile alliance and damage the royal family's credibility as an institution that upholds the values of loyalty, discretion, and service to the nation. When the affair was finally exposed, the immediate question on everyone's mind was, who was this foreign leader? The answer, however, has remained largely out of the public's reach. While there have been numerous theories and accusations swirling, no definitive proof has yet been provided to reveal the identity of the individual involved. What we do know is that this leader, who held significant influence in global politics, would have had ample opportunity to exploit the relationship with Camilla for personal and national gain. The fact that this affair took place at the highest levels of power only adds to the gravity of the situation. In the aftermath of Princess Anne's bombshell revelation, speculation has continued to grow regarding the identity of the foreign leader. Some have pointed to well-known political figures from around the world, including leaders from countries with which the UK has a complex relationship. The secrecy surrounding the affair suggests that it was not a passing dalliance, but a carefully calculated alliance designed to benefit both parties, one that was shielded from the public eye for as long as possible. The foreign leader, aware of the delicate position Camilla held, knew how to use her as a pawn in a larger geopolitical game. This affair was not only about an individual betrayal. It was about the fate of the royal family and the potential repercussions for global politics. The monarchy, as an institution, has always been a symbol of stability, but this affair, as revealed by Princess Anne, has shaken that image to its core. The trust that the British royal family had built over centuries was now in jeopardy, all because of a personal relationship that was much more than it appeared on the surface. As the details of the affair continue to come to light, one question remains: how will the royal family respond to the revelation that their own queen consort was involved in such a high-stakes and potentially dangerous relationship? What does this mean for the future of the monarchy, and will the monarchy ever regain its standing in the eyes of the public and the international community? When Princess Anne dropped the bombshell about Queen Camilla's affair with a foreign leader, the implications weren't limited to personal betrayal or family disgrace. The true weight of the situation came to light when it became clear that national security was at stake. For the British royal family, which has long prided itself on being a symbol of stability and discretion, this scandal was far more than just a headline. It was a potential crisis that could have far-reaching consequences for the United Kingdom's diplomatic relations, security strategies, and even the monarchy's survival. The affair, at first glance, seemed like a personal matter between Queen Camilla and a foreign political figure. But as the details began to unravel, it quickly became apparent that this was no ordinary relationship. This was an affair that had implications far beyond the bedroom, one that involved the sharing of sensitive information, political maneuvering, and a dangerous breach of trust that threatened the very heart of the UK's national security. The fact that such information could have been shared through this illicit relationship raised alarm bells across government agencies, intelligence circles, and even among international allies. At the center of the controversy was the foreign leader, whose influence and reach went far beyond the borders of their country. The leader was not just a figurehead. They were a key player in global geopolitics, with the power to shape the future of international relations. And when this foreign leader gained access to Camilla, who was not only the wife of the heir apparent but also an influential figure within the royal family, the risks became undeniable. The affair itself had begun innocuously enough, or at least that's how it appeared on the surface. Officially, the relationship between Camilla and the foreign leader was framed as a diplomatic connection, one that was meant to foster goodwill between the UK and the foreign nation. But as time went on, the meetings between Camilla and the leader became more personal, and the nature of their conversations began to shift. What started as a series of friendly chats about cultural diplomacy eventually evolved into a deeper and more intimate relationship, one that involved the exchange of sensitive information. This was the key element that made the affair so dangerous. The royal family, especially the queen consort, has access to classified information, whether it's related to state matters, military operations, or international alliances. Camilla, in her role as a royal, was privy to discussions that were meant to remain within the confines of the UK's highest offices of power. The exchange of this kind of sensitive information, especially with a foreign leader who had the potential to use it for political gain, was not just an affair, it was a breach of the very trust that upheld the UK's position in the global arena. What made this situation even more fraught was the role that national security played in the equation. While Camilla may have been engaged in a personal affair, the repercussions of that affair were felt far beyond the personal realm. The foreign leader, who had already established a rapport with Camilla, was in a position to exploit any information she may have inadvertently or intentionally shared. It is not difficult to imagine how such a relationship could open the door to espionage, manipulation, and influence over the UK's foreign policy decisions. The stakes were no longer just about royal scandal. They were about the safety and security of the nation. The affair's impact wasn't only theoretical. Experts and government officials quickly began to assess the real risks that had emerged. The sharing of classified information, even in the most informal of settings, can lead to disastrous consequences. In this case, the UK's standing on the world stage could have been compromised, leaving it vulnerable to foreign interference. Diplomatic channels, which had once been trusted and secure, now stood in question. Were sensitive agreements compromised? Could the royal family have been used as a conduit for political and military influence? In the aftermath of Princess Anne's revelation, security officials and political analysts alike began to trace the potential fallout. It was revealed that several key decisions made by the UK's leadership, both in the past and ongoing, could have been influenced by information gleaned from these intimate conversations. Whether through direct involvement or indirect pressure, The foreign leader could have used their relationship with Camilla as a means of swaying British policy to benefit their own interests. But the damage was not limited to the UK's foreign policy. The monarchy's credibility, which had always been an essential part of its power, was now called into question. The very idea that someone within the royal family could compromise the country's security was an unthinkable scenario. It cast a shadow over the monarchy's role as a unifying force for the nation. If the royal family was no longer seen as above reproach, what did that mean for the public's faith in the monarchy's future? And perhaps most importantly, how could the institution recover from a scandal of this magnitude? To further understand the depth of the situation, it is important to look at the broader implications of royal security and its intersection with national security. The royal family has long been seen as a symbol of stability and continuity, but they also serve as informal ambassadors, representing the UK on the world stage. The trust that the British people and their allies place in the monarchy is based on the understanding that the royal family will always act in the best interests of the nation. When that trust is broken, whether through a personal scandal or the mishandling of state secrets, the entire structure of the monarchy begins to crack. The potential consequences of this affair were not just about reputational damage for Camilla or the royal family. They were about real, tangible risks to national security. The affair opened the door to a wide array of possibilities, none of which were favorable to the UK. The foreign leader, armed with the leverage of an intimate relationship with Camilla, could have used that influence to destabilize key diplomatic negotiations, sabotage military plans, or even manipulate intelligence in their favor. The impact on the UK's strategic position in the world would have been profound. As the dust settled after Princess Anne's revelation, it became clear that the royal family's handling of the situation would be crucial. King Charles, whose position was already tenuous in the face of rising public scrutiny, now had to contend with the fallout from his wife's actions. The public, already questioning the relevance of the monarchy, was now faced with a crisis of trust that would be difficult to repair. For many, the very idea that a member of the royal family could put national security at risk was unfathomable. How could the UK move forward when its most trusted institution had been rocked by such a betrayal? For Camilla, the damage was irreparable. The affair not only compromised her position as queen consort, but it also threatened the future of the monarchy itself. And for the royal family, this was a turning point, a moment when the lines between personal actions and national duty became blurred, with consequences that would shape the course of their history. The affair had shattered the illusion of the monarchy's invulnerability, and now, the entire institution would have to reckon with the consequences. The royal family has long been a symbol of stability, dignity, and grace. Its members have been tasked with upholding the values of tradition, public service, and loyalty, not just to one another, but also to the nation they represent. So, when news of Queen Camilla's affair with a foreign leader exploded into the public eye, it triggered a cascade of reactions within the royal family, each member grappling with the personal and political consequences of a scandal that no one had seen coming. The fallout from Princess Anne's revelation was swift, profound, and unrelenting, and it left the royal family with a difficult question. What would they do about Camilla? The response from the royal family came quickly but was far from unified. At the heart of the crisis was King Charles, who now found himself in the unenviable position of having to manage both a personal betrayal and the very real possibility that the monarchy's credibility could be irrevocably damaged. As the newly crowned king, Charles had inherited the throne at a time when the monarchy's relevance was already being questioned. The last thing he needed was a scandal that could tarnish the family's image and further fuel the growing calls for the royal family to be restructured or even abolished. Charles, ever the monarch who sought to maintain composure in times of crisis, initially tried to keep the matter within the confines of the family. Behind closed doors, it is believed that he attempted to minimize the fallout by dealing with Camilla directly. Conversations were held in an effort to assess the extent of the damage and to determine how best to move forward. However, as the details of the affair came to light and the media frenzy reached a boiling point, it became apparent that this was no longer an issue that could be swept under the rug. Public opinion had already turned, and the royal family now faced a situation that demanded a clear, public response. King Charles's position was made even more precarious by the growing pressure from within his own family. While he may have been determined to protect Camilla, his efforts to shield her began to strain his relationships with other members of the royal household. Princess Anne, who had been the first to expose the affair, was not one to mince words. Her decision to go public was rooted in a deep sense of duty to the monarchy, and she was not about to back down from the stance she had taken. In private conversations, it said that and expressed frustration at Charles's reluctance to take swift and decisive action. She had made it clear that the monarchy could not afford to remain passive in the face of such a profound breach of trust. Her loyalty was to the crown first and foremost, and she believed that to protect the institution, Camilla's position had to be reassessed. What followed was a series of discussions within the royal family, with each member weighing in on the fallout from the scandal. Prince William, who had long been positioned as the future of the monarchy, was reportedly furious. The young prince, known for his public demeanor and his unwavering support of the royal family, found himself in a difficult position. The affair had cast a shadow not just over his stepmother, but over the very institution he was destined to lead. His concerns were not only about Camilla's personal failings, but about the long-term impact the scandal could have on the royal family's credibility. Like his aunt, Princess, and William was deeply concerned about the monarchy's image and its future. His sense of duty to the crown and the potential political fallout weighed heavily on him. For the royal family, there was no easy way to navigate this crisis. The very idea of removing Queen Camilla from her position was unthinkable to some, but for others, it was the only logical course of action. If the monarchy was to survive, it had to demonstrate its ability to evolve, to hold its members accountable, and to address the reality of the situation. The decision to remove Camilla, while shocking, became increasingly inevitable as more details about the affair came to light. One of the most challenging aspects of this scandal was the fact that Camilla had not just been a member of the royal family. She had been a symbol of the monarchy's continuity. As Prince Charles's second wife, she had been instrumental in helping him secure his place on the throne. Her public persona, although controversial at times, had been one of grace, strength, and stability. The idea that such a beloved figure could have been engaged in an affair that had compromised the monarchy's standing was difficult for the public to process. But as the details of the affair began to surface, it became clear that the scandal was no longer just a personal matter, it was a matter of national importance. Camilla, for her part, was reportedly devastated by the exposure of the affair. After years of carefully managing her public image, she found herself thrust into the spotlight in a way she had never anticipated. The affair, which had been kept secret for so long, had now become a defining moment in her life, a moment that would overshadow everything she had worked for in the royal family. Her position as queen consort was now in jeopardy, and the future she had once envisioned was slipping away. The royal family, ever protective of its image, now faced the difficult task of making a decision that would set the tone for the monarchy's future. King Charles, despite his personal attachment to Camilla, knew that the monarchy's survival was at stake. His desire to protect his wife was in direct conflict with the needs of the crown. As the weeks passed and public opinion continued to sour, the reality of the situation became undeniable. Queen Camilla's position was no longer tenable. The decision to remove Camilla from the royal family was ultimately made. King Charles, after much deliberation, acknowledged that the monarchy could not afford to ignore the damage caused by her actions. While he expressed a deep sense of sorrow over the situation, he understood that for the monarchy to remain credible, drastic action was required. Camilla was stripped of her title as queen consort, and her role within the royal family was severely diminished. The monarchy, as it had done in the past during times of crisis, moved quickly to distance itself from the scandal and to reassert its authority. For Camilla, the repercussions were immediate and harsh. The woman who had once been seen as a stabilizing force in the royal family was now publicly disgraced. Her affair, which had once been a well-kept secret, was now an undeniable part of her legacy. Her removal from the royal family was a decisive moment, signaling that even the most powerful figures in the monarchy were not above reproach. The public's faith in the royal family would be tested, and the monarchy would have to work tirelessly to rebuild its reputation in the wake of the scandal. The royal family's private turmoil was not the only consequence of Queen Camilla's scandalous affair. The international political ramifications were equally profound. When Princess and made her shocking revelation, the repercussions reverberated not just through Buckingham Palace but also across the globe, sending tremors through diplomatic channels and triggering heated reactions from world leaders. This was not just a case of a royal scandal, it was a crisis that could affect the delicate balance of international relations, security protocols, and foreign diplomacy. The fact that the affair had involved a foreign leader added a level of complexity that few had anticipated. While the British royal family has always been closely involved in international diplomacy, the relationship between Queen Camilla and this foreign leader was a carefully hidden secret, one that raised questions about trust, loyalty, and influence. The affair wasn't just personal, it involved the exchange of sensitive political information, which could easily have been used to sway political decisions in favor of the foreign country involved. When this fact became widely known, governments around the world were forced to reckon with the possibility that one of their closest allies had been undermined by the very institution that was supposed to embody strength and stability, the British monarchy. World leaders responded in different ways, with some offering diplomatic condolences and others expressing concern about the implications for their own countries. For many, the affair was seen as a breach of trust that could undermine the credibility of the UK on the global stage. After all, the British monarchy had long been regarded as an institution of stability and reliability. The idea that one of its most senior members could engage in an affair with a foreign leader, especially one involving national security risks, struck at the very heart of the UK's international reputation. Several governments, particularly those with close ties to the United Kingdom, found themselves in a difficult position. They had long relied on the royal family to serve as a stabilizing force in their relationships with Britain, but now they had to contend with the fallout from a scandal that was rocking the monarchy to its core. Many world leaders were left questioning the security of their diplomatic exchanges with the British government, wondering how much of their confidential discussions had been compromised by the affair. Could they trust that their secrets would be kept safe? Or had the royal family's own affairs made it too easy for foreign powers to gather intelligence or manipulate key decisions? Countries with long-standing alliances with the United Kingdom, particularly those in Europe and the Commonwealth, expressed concerns over the potential political fallout from the affair. Some diplomats privately speculated that the scandal could have far-reaching consequences for trade negotiations, military cooperation, and intelligence-sharing agreements. The idea that a member of the royal family had engaged in such a risky, secretive relationship was seen as a breach of trust that could affect both bilateral and multilateral relationships. Other countries, particularly those with tense relations with the UK, took advantage of the scandal to publicly cast doubt on the integrity of the monarchy. They seized the opportunity to criticize Britain's political system and question the role of the royal family in the modern era. For these nations, the affair was more than just a scandal. It was a chance to capitalize on a perceived weakness in British leadership. The global media, ever eager for scandal and controversy, amplified these criticisms, making it even more difficult for the British monarchy to maintain its position as a symbol of stability. Within the corridors of power, some leaders even began to wonder if the monarchy, as an institution, was still relevant in the modern age. The affair had exposed not just personal betrayal, but institutional fragility. Countries like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, which still have ties to the British monarchy, began to question the future of these relationships. If the royal family could no longer maintain the appearance of integrity and reliability, how long could these countries justify continuing their historic ties to Britain? This scandal had thrown that question into sharp relief, and many leaders began to privately discuss whether the monarchy's influence would survive the fallout. Among the world's leaders, some tried to maintain a neutral stance, offering diplomatic condolences without making overtly political statements. But even they were privately concerned. Leaders from both the European Union and the United States expressed apprehension about how the affair could impact Britain's political stability in the years to come. Could the UK remain a strong partner on the global stage if its royal family was embroiled in scandal? These leaders also feared that the scandal could have a cascading effect, leading to greater scrutiny of the royal family and the British government. If one affair could bring the monarchy to its knees, what else might be uncovered in the future? Meanwhile, foreign intelligence agencies, who had long been tasked with monitoring global political shifts, were reportedly on high alert. The idea that someone in the British royal family might have compromised sensitive information for personal gain was a terrifying prospect. For these agencies, the affair was not just a matter of public embarrassment, it was a matter of national security. How much damage had already been done? What information had been leaked or exploited during Camilla's secret meetings with the foreign leader? While the full scope of the affair's consequences remained unclear, the intelligence community knew that this was a situation that could not be taken lightly. For some countries, particularly those in the Middle East and Eastern Europe, The revelation of the affair was a potent reminder of the power dynamics that underpinned global relations. These countries had long been suspicious of the influence of the British monarchy and were quick to highlight the risks posed by such a scandal. They expressed concern that the monarchy's actions could inadvertently create vulnerabilities within the global system, making it easier for outside actors to exploit Britain's political weaknesses. The global reaction to the scandal was not entirely negative, however. Some leaders saw the affair as a reflection of the human side of the monarchy, an institution often criticized for being out of touch with the realities faced by ordinary people. These leaders expressed solidarity with Camilla, recognizing that even those in the highest positions of power are susceptible to personal failings. Some even offered words of support for King Charles, acknowledging the difficulty of managing such a public crisis. These reactions, while less common, underscored the complexity of the situation and the multifaceted nature of the scandal's impact. Yet, despite the mixed reactions, the affair had undeniably changed the way the royal family was viewed in the eyes of the world. The once sacred institution of the British monarchy had been marred by scandal, and the trust that had been built up over centuries was now in question. The affair had revealed just how vulnerable the monarchy was to both personal missteps and political manipulation. The question now became, how could the UK recover from this scandal and restore its credibility on the world stage? When the royal family is rocked by scandal, the media's role is crucial in shaping public perception. The affair between Queen Camilla and a foreign leader wasn't just a royal drama. It became one of the most talked-about stories across the globe, captivating audiences and igniting a media frenzy that spread far beyond the UK. From tabloid headlines to international news broadcasts, the affair quickly became the subject of intense scrutiny and debate. What was initially a private matter had, within hours of Princess Anne's revelation, turned into a full-blown media spectacle. The British press, notorious for its sometimes ruthless coverage of royal affairs, wasted no time in amplifying the story. Tabloid newspapers led with bold headlines that seemed almost too sensational to be true. They ran images of a solemn Queen Camilla, juxtaposed with pictures of the foreign leader she had secretly been involved with, their faces blurred to protect the identity of the powerful political figure. The language used in these stories was nothing short of inflammatory, with terms like betrayal, scandal, and national security breach dominating the coverage. The media seized on the story with the kind of ferocity that only a royal scandal can evoke, with every new detail about the affair being picked apart and analyzed in minute detail. But this wasn't just a British phenomenon. The international media, particularly in countries with close ties to the UK, quickly picked up on the story. The New York Times, Le Monde, and The Guardian were among the many international outlets that covered the scandal, with each publication offering its own take on the situation. Some outlets focused on the personal aspect, examining Camilla's role as a wife and the implications of her affair on her family and the monarchy. Others delved into the more politically charged aspects of the affair, exploring the potential national security risks and the broader geopolitical consequences. What was clear, however, was that the story had taken on a life of its own, with every new revelation creating a media storm that was impossible to ignore. In the UK, the public reaction to the affair was mixed but highly charged. Some saw Camilla as a victim, a woman caught in a complex, private relationship that had been exposed for the world to see. There were those who expressed sympathy for her, understanding that even figures as powerful as the Queen Consort are not immune to personal flaws. However, these voices were in the minority. The majority of public sentiment was focused on the betrayal and the threat to national security. Camilla, who had once been seen as a stabilizing force within the royal family, was now viewed by many as a liability, someone who had not only betrayed her family but had put the very future of the monarchy in jeopardy. On social media, the reaction was swift and unforgiving. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram were abuzz with opinions on the scandal. Hashtags like #CamillaAffair and #RoyalBetrayal began trending within hours of the story breaking, with thousands of people weighing in on the affair and its consequences. Memes, GIFs, and satirical posts flooded timelines, as people from all walks of life shared their thoughts on the scandal. For some, this was just another royal drama to follow, a guilty pleasure that fed into the public's insatiable appetite for celebrity scandals. For others, it was a moment of reckoning, a painful reminder that even those in the highest echelons of power are not immune to human failings. As the scandal unfolded, the British media found itself under increasing pressure to maintain a delicate balance between reporting the facts and sensationalizing the story for maximum impact. Tabloids were particularly aggressive in their coverage, often focusing on the most lurid details of the affair. Meanwhile, more traditional outlets like the BBC and The Times were tasked with providing a more measured perspective, though even they found it difficult to avoid the sensationalism that had taken over the airwaves. The media's role in this scandal was pivotal, as it was the lens through which the public processed the information. The media's framing of Camilla's affair would determine how she was perceived, both in the UK and abroad, for years to come. One of the most striking aspects of the media's coverage was the focus on the foreign leader involved in the affair. While Camilla was certainly the primary subject of the media's attention, the identity of the foreign leader became a major point of intrigue. Journalists from around the world scrambled to uncover the details of the leader's identity, with some outlets even publishing speculative reports that named potential candidates. This added an element of mystery to the affair, as the media's obsession with the unknown only heightened the public's curiosity. Who was this powerful figure who had become so entangled with one of the most prominent members of the British royal family? Was this a diplomatic relationship gone awry, or was there something more sinister at play? While much of the coverage centered on the personal betrayal and the political implications, the media also paid close attention to the fallout from the scandal within the royal family itself. As the story unfolded, the media captured the tension between King Charles and Princess Anne, highlighting the ways in which the affair had strained their relationship. The royal family, which had always prided itself on maintaining a united front in times of crisis, was now exposed as deeply divided. Anne's decision to go public with the affair was framed as both an act of loyalty to the monarchy and a deeply personal betrayal of her family's trust. The media portrayed Anne as the moral compass of the royal family, the one who was willing to make the tough decisions for the good of the monarchy, even if it meant exposing uncomfortable truths. As the media frenzy continued, questions began to emerge about the long-term effects of the scandal on the monarchy. Would this affair mark the beginning of the end for Queen Camilla's role within the royal family? What would be the lasting impact on King Charles, who had long been associated with the controversies surrounding his marriage to Camilla? The media continued to speculate on these issues, with some pundits predicting that the royal family would face irreparable damage to its image, while others suggested that the monarchy could weather the storm, as it had in the past. In the wake of the scandal, it became clear that the media had not just reported on the affair, it had become an active participant in shaping its outcome. The way the story was covered, the language used, and the angles chosen all played a crucial role in framing public perception. As the media continued to dominate the narrative, it was impossible to ignore the fact that this royal scandal had become as much about the media's handling of the story as it was about the scandal itself. The media had turned the affair into a spectacle, feeding the public's desire for scandal while simultaneously shaping the way the public would remember this chapter of royal history. The moment that Princess Anne revealed Queen Camilla's affair, the royal family was thrust into one of the most significant crises it had ever faced. As the scandal rapidly escalated, it became clear that the monarchy could not survive intact if Camilla remained at its center. The institution that had long prided itself on stability, dignity, and a sense of invulnerability was now at a crossroads, facing a decision that would change the royal family forever. The question was no longer about whether Camilla's actions were a personal failing, rather, it was about the future of the monarchy itself and whether it could weather the storm of public outrage and international backlash. The decision to remove Queen Camilla from the royal family was not made lightly. King Charles, who had spent years cultivating a public image of unity and continuity, found himself at a critical juncture. His desire to protect his wife was in direct conflict with his responsibility to protect the monarchy. As the monarch, his primary duty was not just to his family, but to the institution he now represented. The royal family's reputation was at stake, and there was no longer any question that Camilla's continued presence within the fold was untenable. Behind the scenes, discussions took place at the highest levels of the royal family. The stakes could not have been higher. The Queen Consort's affair, which had been exposed to the world, had breached more than just personal trust. It had compromised the very core of the monarchy's credibility. King Charles knew that the public perception of the royal family would be forever altered if Camilla remained in her position. The royal family, an institution that had stood for centuries, could not afford to appear weak in the face of such a betrayal. The decision to remove Camilla from her position as queen consort was swift and unequivocal. Her role within the royal family, once secure, was now stripped away. It wasn't just the title of queen that was taken from her. It was the very foundation upon which her status in the family had been built. Camilla, who had once been seen as the supportive wife of Prince Charles, was now cast aside, her name forever tied to a scandal that had shaken the monarchy to its core. The institution that had embraced her for so long could no longer afford to do so. But what did this mean for the royal family moving forward? The decision to remove Camilla sent a message: no one, not even the queen consort, was above the institution of the monarchy. For many, this was a necessary step, a way of demonstrating that the royal family was willing to hold its members accountable, no matter how high their rank. The removal of Camilla was seen as an effort to restore the monarchy's credibility and to preserve its place in modern British society. For King Charles, this decision, painful as it was, may have been the only way to ensure that the monarchy could move forward in a way that didn't undermine its public standing. However, the decision to strip Camilla of her title did not come without consequences. Public opinion, already divided over the affair, was now even more polarized. While some viewed the removal as a necessary move to protect the monarchy's image, others saw it as an act of betrayal. Camilla had spent years by Charles's side, supporting him through countless challenges, including the public fallout from his first marriage. Now, in the wake of a scandal that she had initiated, she found herself cast aside, her role within the royal family diminished. For Camilla, the decision to remove her from the royal family was undoubtedly a painful one. She had fought hard for her place in the royal family, and her ascension to queen consort had marked the culmination of a long and often controversial journey. Now, that journey seemed to have reached its end. The public had once seen her as a symbol of stability and resilience. Now, she was viewed by many as a symbol of betrayal, a woman who had jeopardized everything the monarchy stood for. Her fall from grace was swift, and her removal from the royal family was a public acknowledgement that the monarchy, for all its pomp and grandeur, was not impervious to scandal. For King Charles, the decision was equally difficult. As a man, he had lost a wife. As a king, he had lost a consort. The emotional toll of this decision cannot be overstated, but the monarchy's survival was at stake. King Charles had to make a choice: his personal attachment to Camilla or his duty to the crown. In the end, he chose the monarchy. His decision to remove Camilla was a testament to the power of the institution. The monarchy had to remain above the fray, above the personal failings of its members. As the news of Camilla's removal spread, the world watched closely to see how the royal family would handle the aftermath. Would the monarchy's reputation recover? Could it regain the trust of the public after such a profound betrayal? The removal of Camilla marked a pivotal moment in royal history. It was a reminder that the monarchy, despite its centuries-old traditions, was not immune to the same forces that affected the rest of society. Scandal, betrayal, and public scrutiny could threaten the very fabric of the royal family, and it was up to its members to decide how to navigate those challenges. In the wake of Camilla's removal, the royal family began the difficult task of rebuilding its public image. King Charles, who had once seemed to hold the monarchy together through difficult times, now found himself at the center of a crisis of his own making. His leadership would be tested like never before. The British royal family, so often a symbol of unity and stability, was now struggling to regain its footing. The world was watching, waiting to see how they would handle this moment of reckoning. The decision to remove Camilla was not just about one woman's betrayal, it was about the future of the monarchy. Could the royal family survive the scandal and rebuild its reputation? Or would this be the beginning of the end for an institution that had been the cornerstone of British life for centuries? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain: the monarchy had been forever changed by the events that led to Queen Camilla's dismissal. As the world processed the shocking revelation of Queen Camilla's affair, the question on everyone's mind was, what was happening behind closed doors at Buckingham Palace? The media frenzy, while intense, only captured the public face of the royal family's turmoil. But in private, tensions were rising. Palace insiders began to speak out, revealing details of conversations that took place behind the scenes, conversations that were filled with anger, confusion, and a sense of betrayal that ran deep. Unseen footage, gathered from various sources, began to surface, offering a rare glimpse into the emotional turmoil experienced by the royal family. These rare snippets of behind-the-scenes footage were leaked to the press, showing members of the royal family in private moments, grappling with the fallout of the affair. The footage, though not officially released, became a key element in understanding the human side of this scandal. The royal family, often portrayed as untouchable and unflappable, was now shown in moments of raw emotion, their struggles laid bare for the world to see. In one particularly telling video, King Charles is seen in a rare moment of frustration. He is caught on camera speaking with his closest advisors, his voice tinged with emotion. "How could this happen? How could we have missed this?" he asks, his face etched with disbelief. The weight of the scandal is clear in his demeanor. It's a moment of vulnerability rarely seen from a monarch, and it underscores the personal toll the affair had taken on him. Princess and two was seen in another segment of leaked footage, pacing the halls of Buckingham Palace, her face a mask of determination and frustration. She's caught in conversation with her colleagues, clearly discussing the severity of the situation. The monarchy comes first. It's not just about family anymore, and says, her voice firm. This footage painted, and as the moral compass of the royal family, a woman who had made the difficult choice to expose the affair for the good of the monarchy, even if it meant publicly shaming her stepmother. Other footage reveals moments of tension between the royal family's senior members. Prince William, usually composed and reserved, was seen in a heated exchange with his father, King Charles, in the private quarters of the palace. The discussion was intense, with William expressing his disappointment and frustration. "We cannot keep shielding her," William says, his voice raised. "This is bigger than her. The monarchy will suffer, and we cannot afford that." His words reflect the growing divide within the royal family, as younger generations began to realize that the monarchy's survival depended on confronting uncomfortable truths, no matter how personal they were. As the unseen footage continued to emerge, the world began to see the emotional toll the affair had taken on the royal family. The carefully crafted public image of the monarchy, one that had been built on grace, poise, and control, was shattered in these raw moments of private anguish. The leaked footage served as a stark reminder that even the most powerful families are not immune to the chaos and complexity of human relationships. The public's perception of the royal family shifted as a result. While many were still shocked and appalled by the affair itself, others found a new empathy for the family, seeing them not just as distant figures of power but as real people grappling with a personal crisis of monumental proportions. The footage provided a level of intimacy that the royal family had never allowed the public to see before, and it changed the narrative from one of scandal to one of human vulnerability. Section 11. The reaction from the British public. What does this mean for the monarchy? The British public's reaction to the affair and its fallout was nothing short of polarized. For some, Queen Camilla's removal from the royal family was a necessary step to preserve the monarchy's credibility. The affair had shaken the very foundation of the institution, and many felt that drastic action was required. Camilla, who had once been embraced as the future of the monarchy, was now seen as a liability. The trust that had been placed in her was irrevocably broken, and her presence within the royal family could no longer be justified. For others, however, Camilla's removal was a betrayal in and of itself. She had been a part of the royal family for years, and many felt that the decision to strip her of her title was harsh and unfair. Some argued that the affair, while unfortunate, should have been handled privately within the family. The royal family's public handling of the situation, they argued, was only furthering the sense of drama and disarray that had long surrounded the monarchy. The media, as expected, played a huge role in shaping public opinion. Tabloid newspapers, with their sensationalist headlines, painted Camilla as a villain, someone who had single-handedly brought shame upon the royal family. These outlets capitalized on the public's fascination with scandal, publishing damning stories about Camilla's affair and her eventual removal from the royal family. On the other hand, more traditional media outlets took a more measured approach, exploring the implications of the scandal for the monarchy and asking whether the family could ever recover from such a blow. Social media, too, was a battleground for public opinion. Twitter was flooded with hashtags like #CamillaExiled and #RoyalBetrayal, with thousands of users weighing in on the scandal. Some defended Camilla, arguing that her affair was a personal matter that should not have been exposed for the world to see. Others, however, voiced their anger and frustration, calling for the monarchy to be restructured or even abolished altogether. The affair had opened a rift between the monarchy and the British people, and it was clear that trust in the institution had been significantly damaged. For the royal family, the question remained, could the monarchy survive this scandal? Could the institution rebuild its credibility? Or was this the beginning of the end? King Charles, once seen as the future of a modern and reformed monarchy, now found himself grappling with a crisis of leadership. He had inherited a monarchy on the brink of collapse, and the weight of this scandal threatened to undo everything he had worked for. For the royal family, the coming months would be crucial in determining whether they could regain the trust of the British public, or if they would become a relic of a bygone era. Section 12. Legal implications. Was Camilla's affair illegal? As the scandal continued to unfold, questions began to emerge about whether Queen Camilla's affair had any legal ramifications. While the affair itself was a deeply personal betrayal, it also raised questions about the nature of the relationship and whether any laws had been broken in the process. Could this scandal lead to legal action? Or was it simply a matter of public disgrace? Legal experts weighed in on the situation, analyzing the potential for legal consequences. Some suggested that if the affair had involved the exchange of sensitive information, there could be potential charges related to espionage or treason. The idea that a member of the royal family could have used their position to further the interests of a foreign leader was a deeply concerning prospect. If information had been passed along that jeopardized national security, it could lead to legal action, although proving such a case would be challenging. However, others argued that the affair, while damaging to the royal family's reputation, did not constitute a crime in and of itself. There were no clear legal violations that could be tied to Camilla's actions, and much of the affair was based on personal, rather than political, motivations. The scandal, while certainly unprecedented in its scale, was more a matter of public interest and royal accountability than a legal matter. For Camilla, the potential for legal repercussions remained unclear. There were no immediate moves to bring charges against her, but the legal implications of her affair were certainly a topic of discussion in the wake of the scandal. The royal family, already under intense scrutiny, could find itself drawn into legal battles if further details about the affair emerged. Conclusion. The royal family's future. How will the monarchy emerge? The affair involving Queen Camilla was a seismic event that sent shockwaves through the royal family and the British public. In the aftermath, the monarchy found itself at a crossroads. The very institution that had symbolized stability